There we are. Cool. Giving people a chance to lock in.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon, Taylor.
Good afternoon, everybody.
Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, KK. Yes, we're going to lock right into things and get things started, rocking and rolling early. And just, I'm not going to hold you guys too long because, it's one of them days where I know everybody has to get back to their parlays, you know?
Period.
Oh man. So yeah, let's just go ahead and get started. So yeah, by watching or reading this, you're saying you understand the following. I'm not a financial advisor and this is not trading advice. This session is solely for educational purposes. There's significant financial risk associated with options trading, and I'm not liable for your wins or losses in the market. If you decide to act on this information, ooh, let's go. My plant drank my last bottle of Essentia. Damn. All right, so let's just get right into options flow, call flow from Friday. So this past Friday, the top call options flow went into Tesla, followed by CoreWeave, Apple, Intel, and Galaxy. Shout out to KWeb. On the put side, they were shorting Nvidia, Meta, MU, VRT, and Costco. Let me just make some notes here. Just making a few notes, man. Apparently, the iPhone is doing really well. Like I told y'all last Tuesday, or I think it was Thursday, Tuesday, yeah, Monday or Tuesday, that this is the first time in a while that they changed the design of or anything physical about the iPhone. So, well, you know what I mean, like the phone itself, not just like the camera, stuff like that. And it's a big deal. They had lines, everybody that I know, they buying their phone and just a lot going on in the stock. They're moving because of it. So a lot going on with that. And just making some notes. And all right. Cool. All right. And so for the week, the top call options flow went into Apple, Intel, CoreWeave, NVIDIA, AMD. Now I'm gonna show y'all something. This just and we're gonna get back to the list first. So well, let me do the list first. And on the short side, we had Tesla for the week, and that's where the most put options flow went into Tesla for the week. MU, Target, UNH, and RGTI. Right. So shout out to MSTR. But so you look here, right, for the where was it? What was I looking for? One sec. So a lot of times you'll see something isolated to a day. Like for example, Tesla here. You had Tesla on Friday. It had the top call options flow went into Tesla, but for the overall week it was bearish. So I'm only pointing this out because we talk about during the in the trading Bible about how your time frame, the time frame that you're watching needs to be in alignment with your your plan, your goal for the trade, the how long you're planning to hold in the trade, the goal and everything. So some people just look at things within a scope or whatever, and it may not be the bigger picture. So like for just it was on Friday, one day of price action, or not price action, but the just order flow for call options. was bullish for Tesla, but the overall week was bearish. So, just sometimes just looking at the overall picture of what's going on, kind of like put things into their proper perspective, that little short term stuff. I mean, it's okay. You can make a whole lot of money in the short term, you know what I mean? But sometimes you miss that move because you're looking at the wrong time frame, or you may get out of an amazing trade because the lower the time frame, the higher the emotion, and you're missing out on a bigger thing. So yeah. But yeah, market talk. Let's just make market talk a little quick. And so yeah, I just wanna just let's just go right into it. So this past week, it was a so we swung this. Let's just start it off like this. So into this past week that we just had, we swung some trades into this week that, excuse me, sorry, I had to drink some water. We swung some trades into this week that were down. We were in position, and our positions were not in profit, right? But you know how I am, market structure over everything, market structure over P&L, like the options trading Bible. So I'm gonna trust my process and follow along. I'm gonna trust my trading price process. I back test everything, and I believe in my process, like I said. So we swung a few trades into this week that were down, but I had a plan for Monday, and let me start for Tuesday. Tuesday morning, I said to the team pre-market, I said, I'm going to get the whole team out of, we got Powell speaking today. He's going to talk about the economy. I'm getting us out of everything before power hour is over this morning, you know? And so we had swung some Apple trades. Well, Apple wasn't down. We swung Apple overnight. We were in profit, but it hadn't made any money yet. So, and that was a trade at the end of the day on Monday, just to put things in their proper context. So, yeah, so Apple started printing, and got the team out of that trade early. And for a quick $100 profit, it wasn't a whole lot, but and you can make $100 in a few minutes without having to do anything. That's one for one contract. That's cool. We swung CCJ over the weekend, and CCJ was one of the trades that we took because of the nuclear deal that the United States made with the United Kingdom. And the trade was not in profit, but the structure was intact. And I told the team we were swinging, and we swung it because that's we had time on it. We had leverage on that trade, and that was one of the main reasons why we it was okay to swing it. I'm just it's market structure over everything, so it's gonna always be that for me. And so, we swung that trade, and it was a pretty big trade. It's a pretty good trade. And it ended up doing everything it needed to do. So yeah, I'm gonna go back. I just want to go to Monday for a second. I'm gonna share that part of the screen because I'm not gonna talk too long about this. So this is the CCJ chart, and the this was the breakout point right here. This was on a weekly, you can see this. I'm gonna show you the weekly chart first. This was the weekly chart. It broke this structure. I mean, broke out of this flag. This was a pretty big flag, bull flag. I'm gonna track a bull flag in a minute and consolidate. And we broke out, and we had a lot of head fakes on this before. So we got this real breakout right here. This was like it. I was going to cover this chart this week anyway because CCJ is standing tall and it's not done. But yeah, so just wanted to show you the weekly for a second. So yeah, so on Monday, this is past Monday, yeah, right here. So this is what happened. We were in this trade last week. We got in it last Monday. So not this past Monday, but 2 weeks ago, we got into this trade, but we had time on it. And because it broke out and it sustained this because think about it, look at this is a daily chart. Each candle represents one day of price action. And so yeah, I don't chase all-time highs, but context is everything. Context matters. So what happened was this was the first time that this candle was going to close. We were going to get a candle confirmation on the daily with high volume over this breakout. We got some breakouts here before, but we always got a head fake. Price came back down and closed under the breakout point. We never got a candle confirmation. It was end of day, and we were getting that candle confirmation, So I'm like, all right, I'm gonna get the team in this trade. Good news, it has a strong catalyst, and we're gonna swing. And so we swung, we got in those right before the market closed. And in the after hours, those contracts were already in the money. You know, they were already up because the stock was running in the after hours. Then well, pre-market, right before the market opened, it came back down. But it didn't come it you see where it opened. It opened where it closed at, and it pulled back. Now, for the people who don't get on live stream with us, I put some preset a tight stop in there for them so they could just go ahead and exit the trade early if they wanted to without taking, a loss, just very small pullback if it lost. I think I had it at like 80, 85 something. It was really tight stop. But on stream, I just told the team we just gonna stay in the trade because at the end of the day, it's about the structure. What happened was you see it came all the way back down here and it retested that breakout area. This line right here, the one, because the thing about it is what we want is, and it's cool. And I mean, and it's two ways that this could have been played. I could have been conservative, extra conservative on this trade and said, you know what, let's not chase it at all time highs, and we could wait to see what happens the next day, and if it give us this retest, then we can buy there. But the thing is, remember, the only reason I'm going to ever swing if we're not already in a long swing or something like that, or we're doing an IV move or something that we're planning, is because I'm expecting price to gap up higher than the previous day's close. And that's something you can't take advantage of unless you're swinging. And like I said, everything was going great and the after hours we were up. Our calls were in the money, and we had time on them, extrinsic value on it. So we had intrinsic value and extrinsic value on the options. Just market, it had other plans at the open, but it came down and retested this breakout point as new support. Very bullish sign. And then it continued to make higher highs every single day. Well, not higher highs, but it continued the uptrend, higher lows each day. It kept going up and up and up. So, we weren't in profit yet anymore because, and one of the things that I pointed out to the team last week is because there's something called implied volatility and Vega exposure. There was a big event, that caused the stock market, the stock to run, and they were pricing in a big move and a big move, a continuation. That did not happen. So that the IV dropped, the Vega dropped, and so the contracts were, even if the stock just stayed right here and it didn't pull back or move higher, we wouldn't have been in profit here if it didn't move. So, I was cool with that because we had extrinsic value, we had time, and I knew by the time, as long as the structure was intact, we would be fine on this trade. So we continued to swing. Now, one thing I didn't do the week before, also because we were in this trade and another trade, I wasn't calling out a bunch of trades because I wanted to teach the team not only discipline, but just responsibility. Like, we in a trade that's not profitable. And we had two trades at the time that we were in they weren't profitable. And I'm not used to being in two trades at one time that aren't profitable. You know what I'm saying? So I was not going to add more to that situation, but the structure was intact. So we were going to stay in the trade because I trust my process. So here we go. So look, we swung. So we decided on Friday because it was running into the close on Friday, and that Friday, and so this is what happened Monday. It opened. So before when I got the team out of this contract Monday morning, as we talked about pre-market Monday morning, it was at all time high. So it took out the all time high. So we weren't in profit though. We were at break even. So I got the team out of this trade at break even. That was great. It continued to run. The next day it took out the all time high again, took it out again, and all of that. So look, I wanted to, let me check. Let me show y'all this though. Look, so now, but anyway, I'm just bringing this up because, you know, uh, market structure over everything, and there are times where you're gonna be in trades and you have to make decisions. So yeah, Monday I got the team I mean, sorry, Tuesday. I got the team out of everything that we were in because so we didn't get out of this on Monday. Sorry, we got out of this Tuesday. So yeah, Tuesday. Because Powell was going to speak. So I told the team pre-market, we're going to get out of that. And that was the only reason I was okay with alerting Apple Monday night because our trade, now this trade was back, and it was like, okay, cool. We nursed this trade back, and everything was still intact or whatever. So we got out of this trade here Tuesday morning, pre-market at all-time highs, back to break even. So some it's a no loss is a win. Sometimes a mission can be. I'd rather it's if we can go on certain missions and don't have to come out with a bag as long as there's no casualties. You know what I mean? That's cool. We just reset. It didn't play out the way we wanted it to, but we got it all back. Lessons learned on that one, lessons learned on a lot of things. And like I said, I was teaching the IV. We can talk about IV and Vega all day. I love talking about Greeks, but when you actually see a situation and wonder why your contract isn't moving, and then now Theta is starting to be in a play. I didn't want to be in a contract that was in the same week expiry. And Theta, now we fighting against Theta, time decay. So anyway, got the team out of this, got them out of the out of Apple. And so now remember, we were already there was a meta trade from the week before that, like I said, I went on and I accepted because I went on and accepted that trade for the team as a total loss. Like I said, I got out of that trade. I got out of that trade with like a 200 and like I think it was like $220 when I was on a coaching Monday morning and had to jump out of that. That was one of the first things we talked about on the coaching was meta. So but like I said, I'll go ahead and let that trade I'm accounted as a total loss on our balance sheet. But like I said, we covered that trade last week though, on Friday with the meta puts that we traded. But anyhow, I'm accounted on on our balance sheet as a total loss. But I'm bringing this up to say so. I like I said, I was very. I could have called out so many trades the week before but while we were in CCJ and this trade was not profitable, I just didn't feel like it was responsible, especially with new traders in the community who are jumping in anything just because I called it out and they don't not even watching the trades or not following the process and taking profit or asking questions at certain points. So but yeah, so anyway, long story short, we got out of that. We got out of Apple. We got out of CCJ at no gain, no loss, which was great. But just to be able to show to follow the process and go through things. But I had a plan because I purposely scaled down on the week for the week of quad witching. I didn't realize it was quad witching, but for the week of quad witching, that was the week ending the 19th. I purposely slowed down that week because we were in those trades and they weren't in profit. That's like some humble stuff. Like, okay, cool, we in two trades, they're not in profit, so let's just deal with them, and then we can go ahead and do other things. So it was a purpose. I was purposely restrained. Restraint. You know what I mean? Yeah. So I had a plan for this week. I said, well, this past week, I'm like, okay, we got Powell on Tuesday. He's talking about the economy. They already this the first time he's spoken since he came in and cut interest rates 25 basis points with the possibility. It sounded like there were more cuts ahead based on what he said at the press conference during FOMC, the presser. But the dot plot just didn't really give the same vibe. You know what I'm saying? Like I was the looking at the dot plot, and I'm just like looking at what the other Fed presidents and governors said and what they did. And I'm like, this just doesn't seem like they really wanted to do this. Of course, they did it to appease Trump, and it was pressure or whatever. So we got Powell speaking on Tuesday. Something's up. They don't, what I tell you, I tell y'all this, I've been telling y'all this for years. They only send Powell out there for one or two reasons. He's like the omen. They send him out there for one or two reasons: to take the market up or to bring it down. He's never coming out there just to, for no reason. There's always a reason when he comes out there. So, yeah, so he came out there. But I told him I'm gonna get my team out of these trades because I'm like, I can't do what I really want to do while we're still in existing trades. So yeah, Apple didn't print the way we wanted it to, and y'all only made $100 profit on that trade or whatever. But I got y'all out of it. Some people complained about me closing it early. I had a plan. Some people were upset we closed CCJ. It's back in profit. It's only Tuesday morning. I have a plan. So I'm listening to Powell's, got the team out of everything. So now we're clean. out of every trade, not tethered to anything. And Powell starts to speak and he's talking and his tone turned hawkish. And as soon as his tone started turned hawkish, I dived head first into SPX puts. And then 5 minutes later, I put the team in. But what I was thinking, I'm like, okay, some people I know there was some when things slow down here, when things slow down, if I have a slow week, meaning, or if I just take a week where I don't want to trade that much and I'm not really present, people start pressing buttons behind the scenes. They start doing a whole lot of things and lose money. So I know personally the last two trades that I alerted, to the team prior to that, like where Apple was a successful trade, and I still believe CCJ was a successful trade because it wasn't a loss, and it did everything I needed it to do. I said it was going in the money. I said it was going to 89. Y'all can look at the last meeting. I said that's where it was headed to 89, and the high on this was 89. Uh, but I know my team, and I'm always keeping score. So I said I'm gonna call out this trade. Now everybody knows me. Everybody knows that certain trades or certain stocks or whatever. If I'm gonna call, I'm calling something that I believe is gonna go in the money, and I'm not gonna. It's never based off of the price of the contract. It's based on where I think price could go, and the delta on the option, all of these things. But yeah, in this situation, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna make sure everybody can get in this trade. And I alerted that SPX put for $200, $210. And within 20 to 25 minutes, I believe so, something like that. I think it was like, yeah, 20 to 25 minutes. That contract was worth 1750 or something like that. And so everybody got a chance to make money. And my whole point in doing that was I'm like, I know people, some people got cut up and chopped up. And like I got a few messages about CCJ. Now, I told y'all last Sunday at the meeting that I had a member who told me they were a college student and could no longer afford the membership because of they had to jump out of CCJ, a trade that I said not to cut. He was on the stream with us. So, and don't know how to read market structure, didn't ask any questions throughout the week, just got out of it. Whole thing came back. It wasn't that expensive of a trade, but I'm saying one trade, no one trade should wipe your account out. But I'm thinking about all of the small account people who are hide in the shadows that don't speak up. And so I said, you know what? I'm gonna make sure, and since I'm keeping the score, I'm gonna make sure that I'm gonna give them a trade where they're gonna make a nice amount of money off of a little bit. So I made over a 700% profit off that trade, and then I stepped back for the rest of the week. I chilled for the rest of the week for the most part, and it was just the purpose. I had my reasons behind it, and mostly because trading can be stressful at times, like I said, imagine being somebody who, like, I'm really grounded in who I am as a trader, and I care about the team. I care about everybody's winning. So that's why when I say I'm keeping score, it's not just because it sounds cool to say. I'm actually keeping the score. I'm like, okay, that trade didn't work out, or what about the new person that just joined today and they didn't make $4,000 last week with us? So this trade is their first trade. You know what I'm saying? So I think about that. So I'm covering every single trade. You know what I'm saying? So that's how I keep the score. And so I just want to say that if you're new here, or even if you're not a part of our community, like I say this, I'm gonna keep saying it all the time. If you're starting off trading, the more money you have set aside for trading, the better. You aren't going to be able to afford every single trade if you don't, because like if you just, I tell my team, never trade with more than 20% of your total available cash to trade, because when you die, if you die, and we will, you'll have 4 lives left. So if you only trade with 20% of your total available cash to trade and you die, you got 4 lives left. You get what I'm saying? So and we're not going to fail the same way twice. That's what these meetings for. I put losses to the forefront. That's what I was telling a member who told me last night that they could not grasp the trading process. They couldn't grasp these processes, and they're having difficulty following this process. Although I've been teaching them stuff, and I'm like, yeah, because they don't come to these meetings. And then I can tell by, like, sometimes when I at the end of these meetings, when I'm like, okay, goodbye everyone, and I watch everybody drop off, sometimes I'll leave this up for like a good 5 minutes, and it'd be like a good few people that's still on here. I'm like, oh, that's the person, they're the people who put this on mute and walked around and did other things. They're no longer here. You know what I'm saying? So you got to take this stuff seriously. We prep for everything that's upcoming in for the market in these meetings. If you took a loss last week or something like that, and I come on here and I take the chart and we break it down, every single part of that loss, you're supposed to be here to recap that. Everybody talk about, like, oh, football players and all this other stuff, like they're millionaires, they this, they that. They watch film after the game. I hate losing more than I love winning. Some people only show up to win and then they act like the losses never happened. But your P&L never lies. So, I'm gonna keep teaching y'all and stuff like this, man. But the coddling and all of that, right? I want everybody to take this seriously, like they would take a job seriously. And you can make so much money. I haven't done the numbers yet, but the last time I did the numbers, we were over 50K for the year. And I know we already cleared $6,000 this month. It's just net profits. I already know that. It's just like it's just a lot. And how many days we got left in this month? We got a few more days left. Yeah, we got two more trading days left in this month. So like it's come on, man. So we're gonna figure out how this goes. But I'm saying at the end of every month, there is a nice net profit. So whether you joined this community back when it was $50, whether you joined this community back when it was like $29 or whatever to join, whether you joined when it was whatever and or at 250 now, you're making thousands of dollars in net profit just by buying one contract. And I don't even call out that many trades. So if you aren't making that money, reevaluate what you're doing and think about it. Don't let your emotions stop you from following this process because it works every month. You know what I'm saying? So when the dust settles, don't let one week ruin you. But like I said, people can jump in here, and I'm gonna move on after this. It's easy to fake it when the market is running in one direction. Like I tell y'all, after big wins where it was just like not, it was just easy and obvious because it was just a melt up or something like that. I don't get cocky into those times. I always tell y'all, I didn't do anything special. I just followed the price action. Even a caveman could have made money this week. I'll tell y'all that during certain weeks. And I say that because those are the times when some people jump in and just say, you know what, I ain't gonna follow the rules. That trade been running for he said it's up 40% now. I'm gonna jump in now, and no man's land, and it just keeps running. So you didn't learn anything. You snuck in, you broke the rules, you snuck in, and you still made money. But think about it, when you jump in a trade that's already up 30% without looking at the market structure and looking at what the price action and where support and resistance really is. What happens is, on one of those times where it's not just running up like crazy, and so we up 30% now, and you jump in, and now it comes back down and retest the new support. Now you're down 20% because you chased the trade and you didn't know where you were getting in at. You didn't know what was going on. Or we up 40% on the trade. You jump in now because you see it running, and now it gets rejected right at resistance, you know, and it violently come down. Most of the time, if a trade is running that hard where it's getting close to resistance, the IV on those contracts is pumping also. So that little pullback gonna kill you. You know what I'm saying? But those be the times where you get taught. So like so when the dude told me that he couldn't afford the membership, because he was in CCJ and he had to get out. I ain't unpack it as much as I wanted to. I asked them, you know, could I see the contract? But I didn't get a response to that. I think they had already left by then, so they probably didn't see my message. But I'm gonna give them the benefit of doubt, right? So, but seriously, so I'm asked to see the contract because I want to look at the Greeks on that contract. That the Greeks on that contract gonna tell me everything I need to know about what happened, what you did, and what didn't go right. The price and the price and the Greeks. So my thing is, I know he chased it. And when it got rejected, it pulled back. And don't get me wrong. I mean, that's that. I told y'all what was going on with that contract anyway. It came all the way back. The structure never broke. Everything was intact. It's gonna be, but these things are important because it just if you follow a process and you do what you're supposed to do, like, and again, like when I say do what you're supposed to do, I'm not trying to tell you what to do or anything, but I'm helping you make money in the stock market. Everything is not going to be easy all the time. But so many people fell apart during that slow week because I didn't call out a whole bunch of contracts or a whole bunch of options to mask the fact that we were in two trades that were structurally sound, but were not in profit. They were down. People broke down and fell apart. And nobody had questions during the last meeting when we talked about both of those trades. And I was breaking down everything about the trades, everything about them. Nobody had a word to say, no questions at all. And I was hands off throughout the week, because I'm like, if this time, this is the time where we literally spent a lot of time on CCJ. We spent a lot of time on Meta last week. So I wasn't touching Meta, last week at all, you know, as far as what to do. And so, yeah, but I didn't call out a swing this Friday for the team. You know, I feel like now, and forget what I feel, I'm just telling y'all what's going on. This trade right here showed a whole lot about a lot of what was going on. And like I said, when a trade is not in profit, like I said, I can easily call out another trade. People get into that trade and then they close out this one. They forget about it, and just move on to the next trades. They just forget. And they're okay with that. No, I'm really trying to teach something here. Like this isn't it. Life is more than just a call out. You know what I'm saying? It's bigger than a call out. I really want the people around who want to learn to have access to that. Now, don't get me wrong. There are people who want call outs. They don't want to hear anything I got to say in the chat or anything. They just want a call out. So, and I feed them people too. But when a trade ain't working out and you miss the meeting, now you just know that you're losing money and you don't know why and you won't say anything. So now this process isn't working. You know what I'm saying? So so what I learned last week is if we're in a trade and it's down, there aren't many people that believe. You know what I'm saying? There aren't many people that believe and it shows. And that's cool. But what I'm saying is I gotta understand, I gotta know my team. And I can only go by the ones who speak up or don't, and I can't take y'all on certain missions. You know what I mean? So right now I haven't alerted any swing trades since we got out of this last swing trade. I'm like, okay, we can do some intraday trades quickly, stuff like that. And you see, I got a few channels listed now. We got a level 2 channel, and so then certain trades will be alerted in that level 2 channel. You know, I feel like I just want to make sure everybody is safe. And think about it. If you win, I win. We all win. If y'all win, I win. So I want you. It's in my best interest if you win. So I'm not telling you anything wrong, and I just want y'all to be successful. So, but I had to roll the level back some because you're not ready for certain missions. Y'all not really ready to read this price action. Look how beautiful this chart is. Look how beautiful this chart is, right? So then here, like I said, we were out here Tuesday, took out the all-time high again Wednesday, came back down here, retested this level, well, the 9 EMA, because remember I was telling y'all before, it was riding this 9 EMA up, came back down here, It closed under here, but I had already drawn this new resistance level here because we had broke through here. You know what I'm saying? So now we got this new resistance level here. It came back, retested that. The next day, this was what happened Thursday? I don't know what happened Thursday, but look, whatever happens, this came all the way down here, retested the original breakout area, came back up, but look, still came back up, reclaimed this level here and closed above it, then came back down, retested Friday, and finished up here. So so it was a lot going on with this chart, and then the little pullback on Friday. It wasn't even a lot of volume in that, but I think this was a pretty solid chart, beautiful chart, and but like I said, just if when you can take a lot of you can cut corners all you want, but I just want y'all to be fair. You know what I mean? When it's not my responsibility to, because I had one of my coachings last week. I had a coaching. I think it was Monday or maybe it was the week before. They said to me, "But coach, but at what point are you gonna? If we're in this certain trade, I think we were going through Apple." And they were like, I was teaching support and resistance, and they were like, "Well, coach, but at what point would you come in and say something about this?" I'm like, hold on. I said, if I just gave you two price targets and this was your second price target and you didn't take profit here, I wouldn't know unless you said something. Why would I come in and say something about price being all the way back down here to the original support if I'm thinking that my team already took profit at the second price target point where I have listed? So that's where you got to come in and say something because I'm thinking you're follow either you're if you're not talking, I'm like, okay, cool. They understood and they took the profit where I had it listed for them to take profit, right? And so yeah, so but they asked me that question. It's like, no, yeah, it's not my responsibility to, especially during live trading, unless we're on stream or something, or unless I get a question. If I already covered this, I'm thinking, okay, cool. You got it. We shook on that. You got it. Unless you ask me a question, I don't know. So I didn't not, I love to teach. And when my team needs me, I'll be there. So yeah, yeah, that's just what it is. But I just want to make sure that we are just taking this in. I'm gonna move on from this now. I'm gonna move on. I had to spend some extra time here because control your own destiny, and it's not fair to your own success to act like you didn't have the tools that you needed and you aren't really following them. You know what I'm saying? So, um, but yeah, last thing, and then we're gonna move on to charts. Unless someone else has something to say, this is the last thing I'm gonna say. Y'all know, like the SPX trade, that was a risky trade, but I felt I was ready for it. I was ready for Powell. It's easy for me to break down what he's talking about and know when it's time to strike. So y'all know we can trade like that. We can take all types of trades and we can make some money and have some fun. But even with the when we trade risky earnings as a team, sometimes there's only a few of us that get into trades. Like I'll mention like shout out to Drew. I'll mention his name is because we've been in many earnings plays before that did not work out. Drew be like ready for the next one. Because we not trading. Like I'm going back to like last year. You know what I mean? We made so much money off of last year that's when we were trading more as a team earnings like that. And there are times where you'll get burnt, like we've been gotten burnt to a crisp off of an earnings play. Probably was like a $800 trade or something, burnt to a crisp, move on to the next trade because we know, and I'm just using this as an example, because earnings are risky YOLO lotto trades. We know that. So, but I'm saying, but it's the mindset behind it. If we're playing earnings is something that and I call them lotto YOLOs because this is money that you got it's a high chance that you're gonna lose everything. It's a high chance that you're not gonna win at all on earnings. And you should only be playing earnings with not even your 20% of your regular your money to trade, but with house money. You know what I'm saying? Like that's a house money play. Yes, if you don't have house money, you shouldn't touch earnings, right? So I'm saying that because mindset is important. And so in order for me to be free and comfortable taking more risk, I need to know my team, they okay after it's over. So like I said, everybody is fun. It's fun and games when I'm winning these games and we winning every game, because I'm taking these risky, sometimes risky but strategic moves into the end zone or whatever. Everybody's happy. But the moment I throw a pick, I go in the locker room and the whole team, you can just feel the energy. It's so thick. You can feel it. How you think that's going to make your quarterback feel about taking a risk, a more calculated risk like that going forward? So it's like I'm like, okay, cool. I can make my team money. I'm gonna always do that, but like, damn, like, come on now. Like, where's the no grace? Where's the grace for the team? We're still a team at the end of the day, and we're still up. Every week we end with a net profit every single week. I'm always keeping score. So if one trade caused you to go into the locker room and show your quarterback how hurt you are by the situation. You know what I mean? Most of the time, I know that's somebody who's not following this process. They leverage too much money and took a loss or they upset. Like I said, when we were down on CCJ, like when let's go back to Meta a few weeks ago. We were down on that Meta trade. The Meta trade was like 500 something dollars to get into that trade, but the structure was intact. I wanted to hold on to that trade. So I knew it was some pressure on that. So I saw an opportunity when Meta started coming down because the first mention of the TikTok news had taken place. Even though I saw the silver lining in what Trump was saying, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna alert this Meta put real quick. It was a low cost trade that went up over 200 and something percent. I'm like, here's all of the money back from the Meta call to take, just to let's go ahead and I'm always keeping score. So it's just like you gotta, but just think about that. So I'm still a person. Like y'all can look at me. People, they always say people don't have any empathy for winners. It's like, whatever. He's fine. He got money. He don't have to work or whatever, stuff like that. But no, I care about y'all. I care. I mean, and I'm gonna tell you, I won't trade if I'm not in the right headspace. I want to give y'all the best version of me every single time I trade. I won't stream if I'm not in the best headspace because I can't teach under those conditions. So I'm not going to show up if I can't show up 100%. I'm Some people are in here using their last bit of money, although I tell them not to do that. So I want to make sure I'm in the right headspace. So think if like everybody was so upset or the whole team turned on me after one interception, that means they were in over their head and maybe they're not following this process. So now I'm in my head about that. So I'm not going to take as many risks. Not because I'm trying to teach y'all a lesson or anything like that. This is like real life stuff. It gets in your head. If the Ravens, they planted four today. It's four something today. Um, when Derrick Henry got that ball punched out again, they they didn't treat him no type of way. You see how Lamar Jackson handled that in the press conference. You see how the team supported him when he came over there to the sideline. It got punched out. The ball can get punched out. I made some jokes about it myself, but it's just like at the end of the day, it ain't like he just fumbled. They went and they hunted him down and punched that ball out. But you got to understand the way he run and as hard as he hit people, and when he can, if the way he breaks things down, when he breaks through, he goes. But it comes at a risk, at a cost sometimes. You know what I'm saying? So give us 100 yards today, and all is forgotten. You know, because we're going to need him to beat J Rock and them today. We got to pay J Rock and them today. But it's just, but the whole point is, it's like, we're a team that gets in your head. Like, damn, I disappointed my team. They all upset. Damn, they lost their money. They did this. And I feel it. I feel it. So when I take a step back or I'm going to come back in the right headspace because or like I'm like, damn. Or sometimes I do take it personal. Sometimes I'm like, damn, as much money as I made them last week or the other day, we down on one trade and they solid treatment now. Like Yeah, so yeah, it's just it gets in your head. You can't trade like that. You can't. You gotta negativity scares the money away. You gotta trade in a good headspace. So yeah, just know I got this, man. I got this. I'm always keeping score. We're gonna make money. We're gonna continue to make money, and that's just what it is. I don't want the team to think or feel. Just trust me. Just trust me. Keep trusting me. Bring have questions, and let's finish we only got 2 more days left in this month. We got a huge jobs report later on in the week. We got a lot of stuff going on, fam, and I just want to make sure that we are that we get to where we need to get, and we are on the same accord as a team. So let's find a way to keep this moving, keep it pushing, and finish the month off strong. Does anybody have anything they want to add or any thoughts or comments?
Hey Antoine, I got a quick question for you.
Hey, what's up, Kevin?
Yeah, so this is hypothetical. I wanted to get your perspective on this. So if a stock doesn't appear to have a clear catalyst in the near term, but there's significant call positioning coming in ahead of tomorrow's of the next day's expiration. So if on the daily chart we see like a bearish engulfing setup, what's your perspective on how you would handle the institutional flow versus the technicals pointing in the opposite direction?
Well, I'm gonna start off by saying this, depending on the stock and depending
Mhm.
on, because there's always something. Like if like there are times. This is a tricky question because is Peter on here? Make sure Peter is not on here. I don't see Peter. Okay, good. But yeah, the thing is about just watching the flow. Um, it depends. It depends because some people use the flow, think they can use the flow as a shortcut. And sometimes it helps, but the only time flow matters to me, like like was it is it like when you say the flow, is it just like a big order, or is it like give me an example of how much flow it is? Like how many
Yeah. So I was actually looking, you know
that
me and MSTR.
I figured it was MSTR, but go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah, so last week on Friday, end of day, I saw about like $124 million in calls coming in,
Hmm.
and sixty of that was with like the beginning of next week's expiration. I think it was like Monday or Tuesday. So that's where I was. So like on Friday, it wasn't a or a bearish engulfing. So Friday it pulled back, but then I saw all that money come in. I didn't take this trade, but I was just I teed up this question for last week's meeting, but I forgot to ask it.
Oh, so it
But
was
yeah,
last week. It was for last week's
yeah,
expo. Okay.
yeah. So you see
Okay.
Friday, yeah. So right there, that one, yeah.
Okay. So yeah, so this is what I'm saying. So I'm glad. See, I'm glad you said that too, because look, check this out. So it makes more sense now because what I said I don't like to use the flow because sometimes this is what end up happening a lot of times. It's people look at that as a shortcut, and a lot of times it don't work out that way because there's something called volume spoofing that they know. They know a lot of people that they aren't going to do the work. They don't want to know technicals. So they say, damn, a lot of flow went into this. And so now a lot of people who don't want to trade, don't want to learn how to do charts, they go and just use flow as a shortcut and they get clapped a lot because you got to understand this also. Whatever strike it was, Kevin, where most of that flow went into, uh, whatever strike or whatever it was that the most of that flow went into,
Mhm.
if there was a specific strike or whatever, a lot of times remember that's an advertisement. There's all
Right,
for every option that we buy, there's someone selling it. So if you own 100 shares of a stock, you can sell options against it. You know what I mean? And make
right,
passive income, and just like how people do with dividends and stuff. So what they'll do is volume spoof. Let's say, they I bought if I bought 1,000 calls, and then immediately it's going to show that there's 1,000 in volume. And if I
mm,
immediately sell, it's going to show now it's 2,000 in volume. You know what I'm saying? So I can do that all
right.
day long and run the volume up in that strike.
That makes sense.
And there's nothing, but there's a way to unpack further and see if those orders are being sold, if those orders, and then sometimes they'll go in and just put the order in, and it depends on where you're looking at the flow at. Sometimes those orders will go in, but they won't even get filled. You know what I'm saying? So
Mhm.
it's so many different variables to the whole volume thing. So of course I break it down and I unpack it further. So
Right.
yeah, so your question, what I'll say is this, what I always say, whatever indicator you're using, so volume is an indicator, order flow is an indicator, all of these things, but they have to be in conjunction with something else. And it just can't be just one detail. Like I'll never just say, well, Meta finished in a bearish engulfing, so I'm swinging puts. It has to be so many other, you know, um, levels of confluence to make that move work out for me. You know what I'm saying? So
Right.
yeah, so but no, that is it's something good to have, but in conjunction with other things. But it's funny that that's what happened, and then you see what happened. It gapped down,
Exactly.
and
Exactly.
then Bitcoin ended up having one of its worst weeks in a long time
Right.
because somebody knew something and started they advertised that strike. It sounds sinister, you know what I mean? But they got to eat too.
Yeah. I think the strike, if I remember correctly, the strike that those like half of the volume and calls for the next day's expiration, I think it was like 355 was the strike.
Mm, damn, and so it was for that following week, and the guy and
Yeah.
yeah,
And I
no, it's terrible.
saw and I saw on Friday, I was like, okay, so it held the 200 daily EMA. I was like, okay. I mean, like I wasn't gonna take it because like you mentioned earlier, I wasn't in the right headspace yet. So I didn't take this trade, but I was like, man, it's a great question for to ask on Sunday. So that's what.
Yeah, no, it was a great question though. That was a really good question because yeah, it helped us to really, it gave a good real life example. And I was thinking the way, without even looking at the chart, I was thinking that it ended up being a bullish trade, but I still started off the way I started off, like, I don't use it because it can be this and it can be, it gets a lot of people. So that's one of the main things that they do with it, the whole volume spoofing. So yeah,
Appreciate
but
you, Go.
no, thank you for the question. That was a great question actually. So but yeah, no, and so but yeah, for everybody else, man, it's shoot, where is it? Where is it? Just trying to find something. There it is. But yeah, no, that was a great question. That was a great question. I just thought I had some, I didn't. And I'm looking at this. You see this? It looked like it's trying to do a def cross. It hasn't happened yet. When the 50 moving average crosses the 200 moving average, that's a def cross. It may go there, but we'll see what happens if because a lot of selling already took place. So maybe they buy up this week. Who knows? But I know, gold and silver are at all-time highs, and Bitcoin is selling off. The stock market's at all-time highs and starting to cool off a little bit. So, and we're going into October, which is historically a bearish month. So we'll just have to see what happens. I feel like, Bitcoin used to be digital gold, but now there's so much, institutional inclusion, all of these Bitcoin ETFs. So a lot of smart money, and MSTR has a lot on its balance sheet. Tesla still has a lot on its balance sheet. So many companies, so now it used to be the Bitcoin, um, s- uh, um, uh, Satoshi Nakamoto created Bitcoin as a rebel against the actual system. So now the system owns a lot of the Bitcoin now. And it's just like, so it used to, when the market comes down, Bitcoin would be going up because it was digital gold. But now most of the people who are in the stock market, smart money, they own most of the Bitcoin that's out there that's already been mined, so now it's moving in conjunction with the stock market, and gold and silver are doing what they used to do again, which is, in turmoil, going up. So so Bitcoin used to be the one that go up when the market comes down. So now it's moving with the market. So a lot going on with that. But yeah, no, great question. Great question. And Yeah, let's go ahead and move on since we already in charts. I did want to cover economic data before I go into the charts though. So let me just switch back over to that really quickly. Damn, Cook just cooked my parlay. But yeah, so Fed speakers for this upcoming week, we got Waller. Waller is pre-market though, but Waller is one of those Fed speakers that I tell you about that has a lot to say and it's very influential and can move the market. So we pay attention to the ones who can move the market. We got Hammock Monday, 8 a.m. We got Musala Monday at 1:30 p.m. We got Williams 1:30 p.m. Bostic Monday at 6 p.m. after the close. That's another one to watch out for. We got Vice Chair Jefferson 6 a.m. Tuesday. Collins at 9 a.m. on Tuesday. Now watch Collins. She's very opinionated and she moves the market too a lot of times. So just keep she's Tuesday before the market opens. Goolsby, another one to watch out for. Tuesday at 1:30 p.m. You watch out for Goolsby for sure. We got Logan Tuesday at 7 p.m. 7 yeah. Logan again Thursday at 10:30 a.m. We got Williams Friday at 6 a.m. And then we got Jefferson again at 1:40 p.m. I'm gonna see what Jefferson's talking about Friday at 1:40 p.m. What's up with Jefferson? Why are you coming out that time? That on Friday. So we'll see what's up with that. Monday we have economic data. We have pending home sales. We got okay. So we got Jolts data Tuesday. We got Jolts data Tuesday. And the reason I'm pointing this out, I always talk about stuff like this. Jolts data Tuesday and consumer confidence Tuesday. These are important because not just because job openings are important, but because it's going to happen at 10 a.m. And sometimes it, depending on what the news is, it can pivot the market. And most of us are in positions at 10 a.m. or around that time. So this is something to keep an eye on because it comes out at 10 a.m. and sometimes it changes that direction, the market and can, cause some volatility. And you're wondering why the setup broke down and what's going on. Jolts data and consumer confidence, they happen at 10 a.m. So now it's not a pre-market thing. Okay, we got ADP non-farm payrolls on Wednesday. We got ISM manufacturing PMI Wednesday, jobless claims Thursday. And then we have the biggest jobs report of this. I won't say this is the biggest one of the year, but this is going to be a very important jobs report. This is going to be a really important jobs report. And depending on I think the unemployment rate probably still comes in the same, but let's just see how the non-farm payrolls come in. Now, this is the thing. If the government shuts down, if the government shuts down on Tuesday, Wednesday morning, whatever, if the government shuts down, then if that happens, then we won't get a jobs report. We won't get anything. So yeah, it's all good. We cannot do that. Hold on one second. Sorry, I was reading the message I saw in the chat. But yeah, no, so just know if we I don't know what's gonna happen if the government's gonna shut down or not. I have no idea. I just know that I just take the government whenever there's a possibility of a government shutdown under Trump, you take it seriously. Like I said, I told you I was talking about it earlier. The longest government shutdown in U.S. history was 35 days, and that was one that Trump triggered back in was that 2018 through 2019. So yeah. So we'll just see what happens with this government, this looming government shutdown. So we'll go from there. But if not, then we get the data and we'll see what happens from there. All right, let me switch back. Cool. All right, so we have And gold has just been running, man. Gold has been running. So we will keep an eye on gold, though. Let's just keep an eye on gold, man. Since I have the chart up, I'm just going to go ahead and cover it really quickly for now. And yeah, so just gold, gold, like I said, it's been running for a little while now. And it's at all-time highs. It's been breaking all-time highs like every other week and just keep going. So I'll say if you wanted to trade this, I would, if it, calls over, if it could clear that 348.25, then the obviously the first price target would be the all-time high at 348.75. Then 350 would be the next target on that. If I'll say under 345.31, the first target on this. No, I'll just say let's say under 340, yeah, under 345.31. First target on this would be that because I think there's a gap here. There's a gap here. So it'll probably come down and try to fill this gap at what's that at 344.75. And then under 344.75. It's been riding the 90 and May up there, so we'll use that as a target too, just to kind of keep that moment to keep just that'll be a good retest point. So that 342.15 and then 341.60 could be a target because a nice retest before continuation is cool. But I like the idea of it retesting this area where it is now. So just keep that on watch. And I would actually give it some margin. I would say if it clears, if it drops like under that, yeah, and I think that's cool. I think that's cool right up in there. Let's just see what happens because they might use this whole area right here as a support. That's why I put a line there. Keep an eye on it. But gold has been in an uptrend. Just look at the chart, man. It looks good, and it's just been making a nice move to the upside, and as the market and smart money knows something, man. It's just like they know they're just the when is the rug going to be pulled? And I'm not one of those type of guys that trade that way in fear, but I'm realistic also. I'm trying to be a realist about this trading stuff. Let me go back to CCJ really quickly. And so we were here, and yeah, I like this chart though, man. I like CCJ. It's I feel like yeah, if we can clear that 88, then the all-time high 89.13 would be the target on this one. And then 190, I'm sorry, I said 190, then 90 and so on. Now if we lose that 84.78, yeah, 84.78, then my first target on this would be 84.20, but then 83.13, and then possibly a move back down here to this breakout point would be at 80 again. So yeah, keep that one on watch. Meta, hold on, is this I need my chart. I need my meta chart. This is not it. Y'all know this not my meta chart. I need my meta chart. Uh, Here it is. Yeah. I try to keep a clean chart sometimes, man, but need my chaos a little bit at times. So yeah, here's Meta. This is the Meta daily chart here. Now, before I go into daily chart, I'm gonna go straight to the weekly. So Meta finished with, well, let's just talk about this first. We got a nice 222 reversal here on the weekly for Meta to the downside. Meta not only lost my key level that I have here, but it closed under it. So we got a candle confirmation. We also have a bearish engulfing right here. Now I'll tell you a fun fact. 95% of the time when Meta finishes the week in a bearish engulfing, price has a continuation in the direction of the engulfing or gaps in the direction of the engulfing. That's just a fun fact. For I didn't say on the daily, I said on the weekly. So that's just a fun fact. And then we got this structure. I mean, like the thing is that you can give this some margin, as far as this actually being a structural break here on the week or not. But on the daily here, we've been looking at a lot of the price action around here since Meta took out this level here, and well, since Meta came up here and hit this all-time high level here, back in June of 2025. We came down when we gapped up here for earnings, came back down, retested this area. It's been respecting this level, and whenever it lost this level, we got some resistance to the upside on it. So here after it respected it here, gap down, came back up, retested, rejected it, gap down the next day. We got back up here, closed above it, use it as support again, came back up here, retested it, close. It's just a lot of price action around this area. Respect this area a lot. So we lost this level right here. We got a candle confirmation. Not only did we lose that, we lost a 50 EMA as well. So it's a lot of the volume was a little lower than Thursday here on the daily. We have the momentum is even going to the downside here. Like I said, here's the week. So, but and all of it, I'll say everything was relative to the overall market was down too. So, but then the TikTok deal got signed. We don't have the all of the details of the TikTok deal, but it's in play. You know, yeah, it's a lot going on with that. We don't know what's going on with that. So we'll have to see. But I think that yeah, we'll have to see how it all plays out. But what I'll say is for Meta now. Let's just talk. We don't have like I don't have to have the levels. I got them all over the place. So I'll say if we lose that 737.35, my 737.35, my first target on this is that's 735.88. Then we got 728.37 on Meta. Now, if we clear that 751.93 first target on Meta would be 754.19. Then we got 758.49. We got 764.68 and so on. So we'll just keep an eye on Meta and see what happens. I mean, because like one thing, what I'll say is, like I said, when you trade one stock and you focus on one stock, you kind of know its patterns and pay attention to what's going on with it. Meta likes to sell off a lot ahead of earnings, especially when they got when there's like a nice bullish setup heading into the print. But also, what Meta typically does heading into the end of the year. Now, we'll have to see what happens. But when David Weiner was the CFO, he would guide down for the second half of the year. He would guide down for the second half of the year, and then they would come in with better than expected earnings. And so the stock, when you guide down, the stock drops. Stocks drops when you guide down, because that means you're seeing some headwinds in the forecast that's going to slow down growth, and the stock pulls back a lot of times when that happens. So I'm not saying that Susan Lee is going to do that, because she's the CFO now. We got to see what happens, and she's been there for a while. We'll see how that goes. But what they typically do, they'll pull the stock back significantly heading into an earnings print, and yeah, they do that. I mean, but the order stock could be selling off, just like we got news that's bringing everything down too. But it just so happens that whenever it's time for a stock to sell off, we always get some news to accompany it. So, yeah, so that's just something to keep in mind. Stocks coming down, it wouldn't be a bad thing for it to cool off some more. But, just paying attention to this right here. Is this a structural break or not? You know, is this a structural break or not? We're about to find out, aren't we? And here's the weekly. Yo, look at this. I wanted to show y'all this nice inverse hammer on the weekly. We just had, a double, almost like a double. And yeah, but everything is kind of, let's see what happens. So get some good things to just look at here for Meta, and we'll see how things play out. But yeah, that's what I have for that. Let's move on. Apple here. So Apple broke out. This is the Apple hadn't taken out the all-time high in a while, and is approaching that all-time high here. We finished with, I guess there's an inverse hammer here. It still held that support level here. So for Apple, I say calls over 257.60 for a move to, hold on one second. Hold on. What's that all-time high? That all-time high is 250. Yeah, okay. Just want to make sure that's what it was. Yeah, so the 257 60, the target would be that 259.18 is the all-time high. So that'll be the target, 259 18 if we take out that level. It wants 260, so then we head there. Under 253.78, the target on this one would be 252.14. And we got 249.92. So that's essentially 250. But it would be nice if it was to pull back to hold this area here, the breakout area of the uptrend for a continuation. It's consolidating right here for a move higher. I like this nice consolidation here. Looking like it's flagging. So we'll see what happens with Apple. Keep it on watch. Tesla. Nice chart here for Tesla. I like how it came back down here and retested this area here. Hold up, there we go. Finish strong, nice finish strong for Tesla here on Friday. For Tesla, calls over 440.47 for a move up to, what I said, 440.47. Yeah, for a move up to 244.98 over there. Then we got 250, and then we got 253.79. We got a few levels here on Tesla where it can go if it breaks out and go higher here, because we got a few gaps up there. Under 421, under 421, my first target on this one would be, see, my thing is, I'll say under 420, under 420, under 420. Under 420, my target on Tesla would be 210. I'm sorry, 410. And then we got 401, and then we got a gap fill. It's a few things that could happen, but I think Tesla looks pretty strong up here, so we'll just see what happens. But yeah, keep it on watch. Looks good. Nice 222 reversal here, Tesla. Where did it go? Hold up. Just a second. Just a second. Y'all do see. Hold up. Y'all can't see my charts, right? Y'all able to see my screen?
Yeah,
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Cool.
bye, right?
Yeah, SPY. Okay, cool. All right. All right. So let's just see what happens here with SPY. All right. I know. All right. So I feel like now, honestly, personally, with for at this point now, I feel like this was a nice close. Nice the way SPY closed here. I'm trying to flip the momentum back. We'll see if we can actually get that flip, I'll say, over this 662.37. Look like SPY really want to get back up there to that it want to get up there and take out that high again. But there's some roads ahead there, some roads to get there. So over that 662.37, we looking for 664, then 668 would be the next target, the new all-time high for SPY. So now if we lose that 657.88, yeah, 657.88, 650. So yeah, so I'll say if we lose that 657, 657.13 area. I'll say if we lose that area, because just give it some margin to at least bounce down there before before looking for a, for, I think because it could take out that low and still hold, it can bounce off that area. So I just would give it some margin there. And I'm gonna mark this gap fill also. Uh, area. That's- All right, so cool. So yeah, but if we lose that, yeah. So I said if we lose that 630, that's 657.13, 655.76 or something like that. Then we got 652.71 and so on. So we'll just see what happens because we'll just have to see how things play out with that. App loving here at all time highs. Again, nice strong finish on Friday at the end of day. So this is something I wanted to show y'all because we got some stocks that are down, we got some stocks that are up, and the VIX started coming back down on Friday, right? So yeah, and as I told y'all last week that the official day that for app loving to be added to the S&P 500 was Monday. So they got added last Monday, and the stock, pulled back, and then we, retested this level. We already had this marked up here as a level. Retested this level, bounced off of it, and the 90 EMA took off, and now we are approaching new all-time highs again for this stock. So over 671.18, looking for a move for this one to go to 675 and then possibly 680. Now, if it was to lose that 646.47, then my first target on this would be 640. Was that 640.97? Then we got 621.38. But just be careful around the 90 MA on this one. Yeah. Just one sec. Gotcha. I gotta show y'all this chart though. Got to. It's still pushing. You gotta let it do what it does. Nice retest on it, and it came back down, and now we're back up here again. So here, Goldman Sachs, man. Y'all know I like to trade Goldman Sachs, man. So for Goldman Sachs, over 809.50, we're looking for a move to 815.25. Then we got 820.13, and then we got 825.25. If we lose that, 795.13, look for a move. We got 793.64, then we got 785.10, and so on. Keep Goldman Sachs on watch. It's a pretty volatile stock. Those contracts print, but it looks great, and I like it. We Last week I was telling y'all I put y'all on a few of these moves last week with energy. So energy, XLE is an ETF that tracks the energy sector. And, energy is defensive, and when I say defensive, I mean defensive in terms of where people go hide money when there's turmoil in the market. Energy is something that people always need, but that's where smart money goes to hide when there's an issue in the market. So energy has been running. I put y'all on it last week. So instead of playing the individual stocks, you can actually come in here and check the energy. Sorry, check trade. You can trade the ETF, and you can make money off of the ETF instead of just trading the stocks individually. So it's a good thing. And it looks good, and it has some levels that it can extend to from here. So what I'll say is just keep an eye on it because over the over this 92, 91, the next target would be 93.26, and then we got 95.11, and so on. We already got a breakout, a wedge breakout, and it's been a while since it's been up here. We just closed the gap. If we lose that 91.28, look for a retest of that 90, and then it possibly bounce there unless the market starts to recover. So just keep an eye on it because this is a pretty good stock. Now, one of its top holdings is Exxon Mobil. You can see the stock, the chart looks almost identical. So that's why I wasn't really going to cover it. But for Exxon Mobil, calls over 118.36 for a move to 119.66, 120.84. If we lose 115.92, then we look for a retest of 114.50, then 113.77, and so on. But like I said, unless the market comes down, this was a pretty bullish finish for Friday for Exxon Mobil. So keep this one on watch as well. Another one of his top holdings is Chevron Mobile. You see, this one looks a little different. It's sitting right here at a level that it's been having some trouble with. Came back up here, rejected it, reject again, another reject right here. Are we going to break through? Are we going to break through, or is it time for this to cool off some? Who knows? I don't know. Only the price action knows. And we'll have to wait and see what happens to kind of see where this goes. But for now, I mean, it looks good. It looks good. Still looks good. I say calls over 161.30 and first target 161.86, 163.98. Now, if we lose that 159.50, look for a retest of 158.64 and possibly move lower because we got a few gaps down there. And you can see it's been moving in this channel. It's been coming up here, coming back down, coming up here, coming back down. So maybe, are we getting a little triple topish here? Is that what this is? Let's see. Only the price action knows. Or it could be consolidating for a breakout of a flag. Who knows? We'll just have to see. So just keep it on watch. The last stock that I'm going to cover right now is Walmart. So look at this Walmart chart here. We have a is that I'm trying to see if that's inside or not. Yes, no, it's not inside. It's not inside. Is it outside? It's not outside either. I don't think it's inside. It's not inside. Yeah, it's not inside. It's not outside. It's a two down. Okay, that's a 222 reversal. That's what that is. No, it's a 222 reversal. Okay, cool. All right. So yeah, Walmart here, man. Like I was telling y'all a little while ago, when there's turmoil in the market, if this market sell off and it's a cool off is real, and it's time for the market to cool off and pull back, then that means the stocks like Walmart are going to start to run because when if there's a whether there's a pandemic, a government shutdown, or a recession, a war, anything, people still gonna go to Walmart, right? So, and now the rich are starting to find out about Walmart, and so there's a lot of people that never. So now they got a lot of Target's customers and stuff too now. But anyhow, so you can watch Walmart, man. I'll say over 103.49. I'm looking for a move up to 104.56 and then possibly higher to 106.11. That's the all-time high. I set the all-time high. I was at the 52-week high. Yep, that's the all-time high for Walmart. So it took out the all-time high last week. And this is what it looked like on a month right now. Interesting candle here. Yeah, so keep it on watch, man. Again, that's all I'm gonna cover for now. I held y'all long enough, and I'll post the rest of my charts in the chat. And yeah, and you guys can review this meeting for the ones that we covered here. Hope everybody enjoy the rest of their
Appreciate your time. Thank you
Monday.
so much.
Thank you for hopping on. Cheers. Peace.
Appreciate your time, bro.